Hi, I'm Lynn Schnebler with Educating with Wisdom, and this is actually something I'm adding to the beginning of a longer piece that I forgot to put in it, although it was up on my screen. And so I'm putting it in the front, and we're dealing with the issue of, let's see, claiming the true goddess divine and exercising the male goddess created by men for men. Okay, that's what we're doing. So I'm just going to take out, and I forgot to put this in, and it's really quite indicative of the role of what men are. And I always said Venus is really a male goddess. Venus is a male goddess. Let's go in and see how they work their endings. Here's the term Venus, and then we're going to go into the other. Okay, it says it's feminine, but all of the endings are masculine endings. Okay, let's remember the US, the IS, the I. So let's just remember the nominative. The US, ES. That's like us with our plural, ES. Genitive, IS, UM. Dative, I, UB. Let's see if we can just remember certain things. Take a good look. All right? We can go back and forth. So let's go and see the reference charts for nouns. US, ES for plural. If it were a feminine noun, it normally ends in A. The genitive is this and the dative is this. If it's masculine, it ends in US, like Venus. If it's the genitive, it ends in the I. The dative is the O. Now that's something different. We did not see that there. All right? Not good. Oh, here we go, the plural. Oh, there we go. The plural for the feminine, we didn't have the EI, but we did have the I. You did have the UM. You did have the IS. Guess what, guys? Take a good look again. Just look at the nominative if you can. Nominative first and nominative plural. Female is A, nominative AI. Masculine is US or R. Masculine is I. Let's go back. Venus. Venus is Venus. Let's go back and see this again. What is the plural for the nouns? Oh, masculine, feminine. Let's pick another case. The vocative. Plural. The vocative. All right, well, this is definitely masculine. What is the vocative? A, or nothing. A, nothing. A, E, neutral is UN. Let's see. Why would she have to be neutral? Where's the vocative? US, US. Oh, that's because the neutral is nothing. Oh. That's because the neutral is nothing. Oh my goodness. The vocative? What have they done? Okay, bye-bye. Hi, I'm Lynn Schnebley, and I'm with Educating with Wisdom, the ambassador for Heaven's creating and protecting goddesses and archangels over life. And I'm also going to represent the Church of Ephesus because they shut down the Church of Ephesus, and you cannot move on to what needs to happen until someone is actually representing this. That was a very deliberate move that was done in 1922. Now, today's section, I'm dealing with claiming the true goddess divine and exorcising, literally an exorcism, of the male goddesses created by men for men. Now you're going to say, okay, let me explain something. Imagine women went through and named every part of a man's body based on the women that discovered or named that part, and it was based on their names. Imagine that women went through and named all of the male gods based upon what they perceived at that given time they needed them to be. And what you're really looking at here is an epoch in time, and we go through a series of total destructions of society that we're looking at right this minute again, that in order to rectify the healing, the racial healing is no longer about racial healing. It's about between men and women, and it's redefining Adam. What is also the divine? It's the male and female component, and it's not the male component is greater than the female component. So let's take a look at the X and Y chromosome. The Y chromosome is a little less than a third the size of the X chromosome. If we look at the female divine, as it's shown in the Lost Book of Nostradamus, with the God on top, you have the XXXY. That is a very feminine, with some masculinity, stable individual who can never have children. So we are here in this position, and we've been given this job, and we've been given the tools such as agriculture and the ability to know right from wrong and to be able to tell the truth and to act fairly. But we're not doing it. So I'm going to start with the female. There is a very dangerous aspect of everything that's gone on in the last couple of years, and it's not about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the scapegoat. His daughter was named Goat when she became Jewish with her husband, and she was his scapegoat. And Donald Trump has become the scapegoat for everything that goes wrong. And I wonder if Donald Trump isn't part of the theater that's constructed by these individuals, where the real thing was to set up the pandemic. And it was also a pandemic that may have been set up or leaked with the Spanish flu. Okay? That may have also happened, and that hit mostly a younger population. This is going to be a whole different video. This is why I said to the Russians in July of 2017, use my records so it can be a pump that we can begin to prime, and people can come out with what they know that's wrong, and then we can begin to fix it, and we can make restitutions and begin to move resources into those areas that we needed. And we also needed the Union of North America to bring New Zealand over. I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's come on to these goddesses. Why would a woman develop a slut god? I'm just going to look at the Hebrew word, Sila, which, as it turns out, probably is Hurrian for daughter. Because both Islam and Judaism use the term Sila, or a variation for it. In fact, it's foundational for Judaism, as is the Kaaba, which is Haba, although they took all this on, all right? And the Hori are the women that they're going to get when they die, all right? They're sex slaves, all right? They've taken all this on, the appropriation, and what they've put in its place is not good. And what happens is that these societies that they took over, and it started about 4000 BC, the encroachment after the flood, again, it doesn't take them long when they begin to take everything over again. And they are the causal agents of the problem to begin with. So what did things look like beforehand when people actually had to live in a matrilocality, which is what Genesis tells you to do? A man will leave his mother and father, will cleave to his wife, and the actual Hebrew says that he will rule in her in terms of her sexuality, not over her. Remember, he has to cleave to her in her domain, because that's where the protection is best suited for the entire family, and it's not put into war, resources, and prostitutions. So let's take a look at people, at goddesses just like Athena for a moment. Athena set up a system that was convenient for men. Women were basically enslaved at home. Ephesus was one of the few places where there was some freedom, and that's because going back 2,000 years and then coming forward, there was a tradition of the Hurrians and the goddess Hippat. So Apostis is Hippats, all right? And we have Habet, which is Habet, which is over in Egypt, which was long before Isis, and they are related. They're the same goddess. So where did these slut goddesses and over-war and just sort of pandering to men and their intellect come from? Well, it was a construction of the male mind, and it was also a construction of the music of Celeste upon the individual. Now, what is so scary at this time is that Elon Trump, and not just Elon Trump, they have allowed the dragon to take over the system. And the dragon is masculine. It is Thracian, it's Dacian, it goes up into the Celts. It's not originally of Mesopotamia, and if we go into the Levant, and it's not originally of Egypt. In fact, the Hora and the Horu was for the Horians that were by Habet. And it wasn't Horus, it wasn't this great male god. So a question needs to be asked here. We understand in the past that obviously women were handicapped because they menstruated. And it is a handicap. And you do have a kind of handicap. You do have it when you're pregnant. You do need to be protected a bit. All right? But is that best served by going into your husband's domain, or is it best served by you staying within your family, them looking after the agricultural lines, and then him coming into your domain? Because that allows the woman to be able to be productive and to go out into society and also have the support from family members. It also allows the man not to be seen as a competitor by all of his brothers at home, because patriarchy and polygamy are ultimately violence against men. If I have a group of men that have 3 wives or 10 wives, what happened to the other men? So their system of gods enables this kind of violence and the non-development of Adam, which is what God called for, the ability to know right from wrong. Athena is not a friend to women, and we're going to switch this up for a moment. There has been some mention that Athena was this great feminist goddess. Elon Musk's girlfriend I find extremely evil. The work I see online, her demonic witchcraft online, it's like a psychotic event that goes on constantly with her. And unfortunately, our country is run. In this case, we have Elon Musk, who's going to put up 12,000 of his satellites, and then maybe 42,000 of his satellites, and he and the dragon are taking over the world. And in fact, as the dragon was going up and scheduled to go up, the dragon walk, the Chinese dragon walk, was filming what happened to Mr. Floyd. So a country under the dragon is a country under the dragon, and it's evil. The Bible in the Hebrew warns you about the dragon, as does Revelation. Unfortunately, there's so much lying that goes on in the Bible in order to support men that it's hard to see what the real prophecy is. So let's go in and take a look at Athena, because what you're going to see is that everybody kind of thinks Leo, because Leo is the fifth house, and it has a lot of celebratory things going on. And actually, before it became the lion, even under Samaria, it was known as the dog, the great dog, because when you looked up, it looked like a big dog. It didn't look like a lion, or it looked like a female lion, but it didn't have this mane or anything like that. It doesn't look like that at all. As well, Sagittarius does not look like an archer. It looks like an arc. Keep that in mind, because that's now where the center of the galaxy is. So we're going to go in and take a look at this, because Athena is a goddess in Athens who subjugates women, helps create a woman called Pandora, woman of all gifts, that is supposedly a curse to men, all right, is in charge of war in terms of strategy, because Aries has war, going to war, but Athena has to strategize it. All right. She also has her own occult. She really does imprison women, and she doesn't give them any rights. And she gives men the rights to have prostitutes, have male lovers, have male concubines, female concubines. It's a major problem. There are penises and statues of naked men all over the place, but women have no rights, and they have no rights to own their words, to own their bodies, and to own their commerce, unless they're coming in from the outside, or they're a prostitute who's worked herself up enough that she is a business person and can be freed. And Athena is overseeing all of the protection of male rights, with Apollo, who's a slut god. Then we have Hecate. People in the past have said, and I've seen it online, that this is Haba of the Hurrians. Well, they also say that about Apollo, but it isn't. It's actually coming. It's that whole Balkan area that came down and took over. And I've said that they are part of the sea people. I need to make the correction. It happened about, well, they started coming down before about 1500, I think, 1500 BC. But they really began attacking somewhere between 1300 and 1100 BC, and they infiltrated the entire area. But let's go ahead and take a look at these things, and then ask yourself, why would the church put the Virgin Mary in Leo, where Athena is in all of this? In fact, the Virgin Mary does go on and have other children, and Christ, his partner, because if a man has to leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the Virgin Mary does her, and it is, I understand, because I have those flashbacks from the Magdala of the sobbing at the feet of Jesus with the anointing. That balm, that myrrh was very expensive, and it was used as part of a marriage contract, and women would do it on their betrothed's feet before the marriage as well. So this is and over the head. This is the one who does the consecrating, and the one who's consecrated is not the mother. And I have to tell you from the perspective of my own mother, nobody would put my mother up there as that holy, holy person. But Jesus, who said to his own mother, wait a minute, who is my mother? Who are my brothers and sisters? But he always held Mary Magdalene up, and she's the one that goes to the tomb. Why would they put all these things into Leo? And it's the Roman Church, because it is the Roman Church that wants to subjugate this whole area and control women, making them obsequious. And they put it all under Augusta. And Constantine is from this Thrax area, the Balkan area. So let's come down. Let's come out of me. because I'm running over and we're going to do this quickly, I think. All right, we're just going to start with the BBC and the renaming of women's body parts. I've already said that in Hebrew, Rahim, which is uterus, is masculine. Why would that be masculine? All right, and they go through and talk about how all of our body parts have been named by men for men. Right. Actually, Gabriel means mountain, and it's actually a feminine, and it's actually the feminine archangel. Right? So let's go in and ask yourself. And I think it's an effective thing because even in Hebrew, breast is masculine. Women's breasts are masculine. Yes, it is. So let's go in and take a look at this goddess calendar. I shouldn't have clicked out there. This gets a little weird because the church simply put everything under Leo. And then they put, oh, well, because it's the lion, it's because where August was, it's because of the Augusta. And it's just really diabolical. But so did many of these female goddesses that have really been defined by men. All right. And this is actually, if I remember correctly, this is actually coming out of Samaria, but I'd have to look that up. August, goddess, goddess, goddess. The day of Marian devotion, and yet the first sighting of Marian, supposedly, happened on October the 12th, and it has nothing to do with this. Oh dear, the Celtic tree. Jupiter stations direct in Sagittarius. Okay. Now this is actually against dangerous storms. Oh yes, well this isn't going to help you, for me. And she's actually over the home for them and over witchcraft. But we're going to find out that she's actually, yeah, she's Balkan. And remember, the Balkan people gave you the red dragon, and every 4 years the men would, I guess through lots, pick somebody. Another 4 men would hold post, or 3 men would hold speared post, and then men would toss him up. And here, I better be quiet. There we go, the Assumption of Mary. Now, why is this all happening here? The Assumption of the Holy. Why is this happening? I'm going to tell you. I have not found Leo women to be wise. Madonna's not wise. Mrs. Gates is not wise, but they all pander to the male mind. Coronation of Mary, Queen of Heaven. Excuse me? Wow. Excuse me? So when was Athena? Well, Athena is actually also on the 13th. The 13th would give it a 4 overcast. Now, the 4 they've attributed to Aquarius, to the human. But that's because we have the 4 parts of the heart. But in fact, Aquarius is going to lose the 4. Because it isn't, and it doesn't ring to that. We're going to run the numerology in many cases based on natural positionings and also where they sit in the zodiac. And the 4 brings us to Cancer. There you go. It's especially important because Cancer oversees the young family, and that's when people, both young people and their parents, are most vulnerable to make the biggest mistakes of their lives. Let's go back. Let's come out of here. Again, she is not friendly to women. She does deal with snakes, and she does have snakes all over her. I mean, she has it on her shield. The snakes, remember, they are not a symbol of wisdom. And it's Athens and it's the Greeks that Daniel warns us about all the time. Let's take a look at, here's Hecate. This is this book called Magic. Let's go back here so that you understand where we are, the Magic Tarot. And I do not do tarot, so to speak. I don't. I've seen it happen. Whoa. Where were we? Let's go forward again. Look at that, Thracian goddess. The Thracians were another Indo-European tribe, and she is the goddess. Okay, so it is not Hurrian. I'm so glad they admitted that it's this. Okay, she deals with the underworld, the invincible queen, and enchantments and magic. Sybil, also the Kibble, Phrygian great mother, also coming through the Balkans. The Phrygian comes up, I think they say they're the Elenians, the Dacians originally, they also end up in Babylon about 900 BC. And when Babylon, they come in as the Chaldeans, and when Babylon is then, the wicked Chaldeans are removed, some of those priests go up and they go into Pergamon, where the Phrygians are, and they work there. Their magic act, their evil magic act up there. So that makes me think that's when the red dragon first showed up in Babylon as well. And so it really is this Balkan state. And as I was trying to say before, what they do in the Balkan state, besides having these wicked people, and something happens to the term for the Hurrian daughter, the Shala, yes, yeah, or the Sala. They turn her into the goddess, have her on this winged, when they come through, she's turned, that is this Phrygian group as they come down, and some of them come down through Iran, through the Chaldeans, and they impact the entire area, and they are busy demonizing and just completely demoralizing Hurrian women who had rights and weren't evil. Okay, they were so good that the rest of the world was busy taking on their terminology. Hurrian, Kuri, Korea, Horus, Sala. They were busy augmenting that so that they could get rid of these, and they all considered these good people. In fact, the word choral originally comes from the Hurrians, because they gave you the first musical notes. Has nothing to do with Apollo. Apollo's just he's a thief. That's what he is. He's the destroyer. But coming back with Sala, to give you some idea of what they do, the Hurrians are the ones that told you to put your clothes on and to always wear clothes. So what do they do as the storm goddess? They have her standing on this serpent dragon with wings, and they have the male god Hadad behind her with his whip, and when she wants a storm, she opens up her skirt and exposes her genitals. So not Hurrian. Okay, so not, but this is what the men do to us. And then what happens is that as I'm reading about the Phrygians, or I should say around the Balkans, what the Balkan women would do if there was this thunder and lightning and a bad storm going on, they'd run outside and lift up their skirts, exposing their genitalia, so that they could scare away the storm gods. And I thought, bingo, I was absolutely right on these men. I knew exactly what they were doing. Okay, so what did they do to the men? Well, about every 4 years, they needed a messenger because they believed that when they died, they went to heaven. So they just fought. They were brutal, okay? And they, some red hair, blonde hair, but they just fought. But every 4 years, they needed a messenger to go up to God. So I don't know, I can't remember if they drew lots or what it was. But whoever got it would get the message that would go up to God so that they could bring up. They were the mediator. This is where we get our Jesus Christ and going up on a stake, quite possibly, and where the Romans got it from, because the Romans took on their red dragon, which was their banner, and then the Romans took on Christianity, the cross, as their banner. But coming back to what they would do to this person who was going to go on to immortality and bring the message up of what needed to happen, the mediator, a group would stand with spears, big spears with spikes, and the other 4 of them would, I guess, hurl this individual up, and he would have to be impaled on the spike, which is where we get that whole awful leader, the Transylvanian leader, the impaling. Ivan the Terrible, is that it? But what was even more interesting, and it's how these men think, is that if he didn't die immediately, he was the problem. No, he was the problem. If he didn't die, there was something wrong with him. So then they would go and get another person and haul that person up as the messenger. And that's how we have developed our society, and the Greeks brought them in, and the Romans brought them in, and the British brought them in. And this is what the Red Dragon is about. And all their magic. So, I mean, and on top, oh, okay, I can't wait. They didn't even know what their DNA was about. Athena, myth, and symbols, every day. So she was actually in June, and then she had her feast day, and I guess every 4 years, a huge event with athletic event, and men running around naked with the athletic event that a lot of women were not, they couldn't come to, but the men could go to, because Athena is really about the men. And then there's the Minoan stake goddess. So the reason why I'm saying the Minoan stake goddess is because here's a picture of her. And this is where I'm going to go to the Aries women and reclaim them. That goddess is not Athena. That's not Athena, okay? This is a protecting goddess of the household, and she's protecting you from the snakes. That's our Aryan woman, our woman of Aries. We need someone who is firm enough in her individual understanding that she understands that she must protect. And she has to protect the entire household for the good of society, not for her. And this is what we're going to take her back. She is holding those snakes out there. There may be somebody else who has them wrapped around her body and wrapped on top of her head at some later point. But that is not the same person. Also Lilith, that was a Chaldean invention as well, and that didn't even show up in the Gilgamesh until, what is it? It's like slate 25, until between 500 and 600 BC. There's no Lilith. And part of that story, they think, was a woman who was hiding to get away from other people, and there was a bird in front of them, and they had bird feet there and something else on top. No. These are men and their wickedness, and Jewish Kabbalists and their wickedness, and it's just wicked men who come up with these things. It's not part of the original Gilgamesh. And I have this crazy woman by the name of Marion who thinks she knows what she's doing that's British. Okay, let's take a look at Venus. Oh, yes. Okay, Ishtar. We're going to stop there. Ishtar. That's another male invention. Oaths, warring, love, prostitution. All these things act together. An Athena kind of thing, except Athena doesn't deal so much with love. Although she does affect men's love life, she allows for the Philadelphia, the love of men. Okay, party. So, the Athenians, in all of their wisdom, I mean, they knew all fish had eggs, all female fish had eggs, and they knew that their female animals had eggs in fallopian tubes and ovaries, but for some reason that escaped all Greek men. They just thought that, women were just an open field, and Athena, in her great wisdom, agreed with this. So Athena is not a Greek goddess, and neither was Ishtar. But Athena picks up part of Ishtar, and Ishtar is about the Venus, which is where Athena should go back to, because she certainly, although she does also fit in Leo. Leo is a mental sign. It's the first of the intellectual signs, but it's not the first of the conceptual signs. And so I'm deeply disturbed with Elon Musk. I mean, not disturbed. It's like, what part of the galaxy can I put her in? Because it can't be here. All right? And to know that you've given him the rights to NASA and all these military things, and this is what he does. This is his judgment on life. Lets you know that you don't have a shot. So I'm going to step up and I'm going to do that job. I'm going to take over the church. And at this point, I'm pretty sure the Queen wants me to do it, because there's no better biblical academic than me. Which is why Trump showed up in front of that church with a Bible. Let's come back and take a look at Elon Musk's girlfriend. When you are highly intelligent, you don't fit. And I do believe she's very, very intelligent. Maybe even brilliant in some things. But because of how she grew up and where she grew up, I mean, I'm looking at all these penis worshipping and penis envy with her swords and everything. But the bid on her with the occult and what she's doing, and recently trying to sell her soul, I mean, I just wanted to put her someplace. I was so I didn't know what to do with the country and with her. And with the arts people in general, because they're not pro people. But the notion that they're better than everybody else doesn't fly. Having said that, she is a product of these false paradigms that men have put on her. I'm mathematically and musically gifted. When I was 13 and 14 years old, I was told that I had to help choreograph and then take over the choreographing of adults in community musicals. What my teachers did to me, and I was only there for 18 months, was phenomenal, because they looked at not just my ability, but my scores, and they just said, and I had it. But I can't believe. So if you live in a society where men dictate what arts are, they dictate your words, they dictate this, they dictate that, they dictate this, they take that, they take this, they take that, they won't let you have anything unless you do it their way. And now the recent thing is they're taking over women's sports and women's things, so that women don't even have their own sports and their own things, because goodness knows we're not nice enough for them. Okay? When I look at this woman who is not human anymore, who is prophesizing the COVID, which is being stepped up, and also all of the satellites that Elon's putting up, and the sound that's going to come down, that's going to destroy you. When she's prophesizing these things in her videos, and it's all, and it's out there. She's a witch. You go online, you look at her and the occult, it's all over the place with her. I can't save her, but I prayed for grace for this. And the only thing I can do is erode all those paradigms, all those false paradigms who took all of her means for creativity away from her and took her true womanhood away from her. The only thing I can do is erode that and offer something else instead and tell her how differently Jesus is. And that's the only thing I can do. That's it. Because if not, she knows I'm here. That's why she's trying to sell her soul into bits and pieces, because she is so concerned. She's afraid, and she should be. And she's afraid of what's going to happen, and she should be. She's afraid of all of her lies and everything she's been a part of, and all of the drugs and everything else, and she should be. She should be mortified. But if God decides that you need to be a little animal for a while, and I'm talking to all of you because this is what Jesus is saying in the Lost Book of Nostradamus, and this is what's being shown in those stones. You've got to be careful. In Galepi Tepic, you've got to be careful with what you're doing. It's the lying, all right? It's not doing the Noahide. It's not covering you up as they're telling you to do. It's not being dressed. It's not these basic things. But I'm going to speak to everyone out there. Humanity, much of it is lower than the animals. In no animal area do the males control and rule everything and define everything. There is no animal that allows that. There is no animal that says, I'm a man, but I'm going to be a woman. I want to be a woman because I want to take over your position. I'm going to make you feel like a fool. There is no animal that does that. Only human men do it. And that makes you lower than everyone else. So besides those of you that are engaged in sex selection and abortions, that are pushing pornography and all those things, you are now the aborted, and you will know what's happening. It's not hell. You're not going on forever like this. And for some of you, you need to come back as an animal because you're not making it as a human being. And you're saying, wait a minute, what kind of a cockamamie statement is that? Because we always allow people to come up, but now we can't. And it tells you in Noah, it doesn't say that I will not destroy the earth again because of the people. It says I would not destroy the earth again because of the animals. The people are wicked because of the light I gave them. I can't do, it's not working with the people. It's not working with the people. It's not working with the people that know right and wrong, and they deliberately choose to do the wrong thing, especially the men. They deliberately choose to do the wrong thing, and it's not working. But for the rest of the animals. But I'm telling you right now, what I got from God last night when I prayed, when I saw what you're doing to the animals, and I know what you're doing to humanity, and I know what you're doing to the earth, and I asked God, I asked Jesus, what's going to happen? And I was led to the understanding that those souls, and that's what the Galepi Tepe shows us. The souls of the animals are going to have a place where they can go to and they can keep evolving. But the human beings are not going to hold the rest of the galaxy and the universe captive because you're busy down here throwing a tizzy fit. We don't roll like that. So the earth can be destroyed, and maybe it's time for it to be destroyed. You know, Elon Musk is taking down, he's covering up our stars. Even the astronomers have talked about it. He's going to make, and I warned about the musical Celeste being grossly impacted by this, but it's okay. It's part of the greater cult of getting rid of the mass of humanity, or throwing this humongous temper tantrum instead of doing the right thing. So you have an opportunity, Elon, to take all of your money and take all these things down, because you are causing the war in heaven. The Americans and the British and the Five Eyes are the bad guys. And the only thing I can do, because at this point the Queen and the clergy there and everybody understands that those things that were your foundation for the Freemasons, for the monarchies, for all those things, there's a room for a monarchy, there's not a room for what you're doing. And the monarchy will take on a very different form. But your religion did not protect the people. And Jesus warned you. So, with that in mind, this went on awfully long. Namaste. I'm going to put that case out there, then I'm going to spread it around, and you may see me being the head of the church because, well, you know, unfortunately, that's what Nostradamus looks at, and I guess that's what the female pope is about. The one who was the Magdalene. So we're going to go in and see where there are various dragons all over the Old Testament. Anyway, I have to say goodbye.